Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hello and welcome to our 2017 annual meeting. It's a privilege and it's my pleasure to be here with all of you and to look out at so many members and friends of the City Club of Cleveland. We are 105 years old today. So this is our, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Pogue. Happy birthday to you too. So this makes this our 104th annual meeting, and it always takes my breath away to think about what was happening 105 years ago as Clevelanders were coming out of 12 years of Mayor Tom L. Johnson's leadership, and they recognized that one way to maintain the civitism that characterized that era was to create this club of ours, a place dedicated to civic dialogue on the toughest issues that we face as a community. That civic spirit was especially modeled in the creed of the City Club. And over the last year, amidst all the divisiveness that has characterized these times, our staff and our board have found a great deal of comfort in the words of the creed. In his book about the club's first 50 years, Tom Campbell referred to the creed as the club's lodestar, and that's truly how it has felt to us this past year. No matter how divisive politics and media have felt, we've taken comfort in the charge to be the city's club, to welcome to our platform the discussion of any theory or dogma of reform, and so on. You understand what I'm saying, I know, because the words in the creed, they mean something to you as well. The past isn't gone here at the City Club, and as we continue to look forward and spread our mission and our reach, we rely on our history for guidance, support, and wisdom. And that's been a big part of what this last year has been about. At this time, I'd like to formally thank our board members. All of you do so much for our institution today and in the past. In addition to the many hours in committee meetings, providing guidance and direction, the 27 of you were collectively responsible for more than $250,000 in individual and corporate contributions last year, helping to sustain our commitment to freedom of speech and civil civic dialogue. If you serve now on our board or have ever served on our board or the board of our Forum Foundation, which is our endowment organization, could you please stand so that we may recognize you appropriately? And now for a look at this last year, please join me in welcoming to the stage our board president, Bob Lippman.
Thank you, Dan. We're deeply appreciative of your leadership and your staff's hard work. I also want to thank our board members for their passionate work to achieve our mission. None of it would happen without our great board, past presidents that are here in the room today. Simply put, the state of the City Club is very, very strong. Your presence here today is a testament, but let me just say that everything we pay attention to, the audience numbers, the programming, the demographic breakdown of speakers, the diverse group of partners we work with, all of it tells a story of strength and deepened commitment to our mission to create conversations of consequence that help democracy thrive. None of that would be possible without our members. So many of you are here in the room with us today. All of our members should know that your ranks are growing. Every week, more minded civic citizens join you to participate in this great tradition. 824 members and climbing. We listen to our members and we thank you for your input over the past year. We want to recognize the handful of our members, 9 in fact, who have been members of the City Club for 50 years or more. Congratulations to those. Now, you are leaders, all of you. Thank you very much. I also want to thank a special group of members, those in our philanthropy circle, individuals who have distinguished themselves through their generosity and who have made financial contributions to the City Club this last year far in excess of standard membership dues. As board president, one of my jobs is to oversee fundraising, and all of you have made that job a lot easier this year. Your contributions have enabled extraordinary programming and reach, and we are deeply grateful to all of you. I also want to thank more than 80 partners we have in the corporate and nonprofit community who sponsor our forums and have joined our corporate membership program. As you can see, many of our donors and sponsors listed in the annual report. We are deeply grateful to all of you. Thank you. And now, finally, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the woman who, if she were not here today, none of this programming would have happened. Please welcome our talented Director of Programming, Stephanie Jansky.
Thanks, Bob. We hosted 130 forums in the last fiscal year, and for many of you, that number may seem unremarkable. For the last several years, the City Club has consistently hosted between 120 and 140 forums each year. But there's a few reasons why this 130 number is so spectacular. 30% of those forums were held off-site in the community at such diverse locations as the Global Health Center for Innovation, Happy Dog, from cocktail bars to Public Square. We've proven that the City Club is a spirit and not a space, and that we have gong will travel. 27 of those forums were sold out, the largest number of sold-out events in recent City Club history. And by sold out, I mean 250 people to 500 people or more. We've also increased our average attendance to 157 people per forum, and the reason for this success is twofold. One, it's the more than 70 community partners that are listed on page 5 of the annual report. They help us promote our forums to their networks and constituents to ensure that we have the right people in the room every time. And secondly, the high number of profile speakers that we've held in the past fiscal year. Those that were suggested by you, our members, and by the community, and that we were able to get to our stage. Here's just a few in that stellar lineup. Former Speaker of the House, John Boehner, Senator Bernie Sanders, exoneree and co-founder of Life After Justice, Jared Adams, former New York City Commissioner of Transportation, Jeanette Sadiq-Khan, and of course, who could forget, Indians manager Tito Francona and General Manager Mike Chernoff. And with help of our primary media partner, IdeaStream, we have captured nearly 100% of those 130 forums, extending our reach to 500,000 people in Northeast Ohio and beyond. In the last fiscal year, we've also introduced new lines of programming. A group of City Club members interested in more in-depth dialogue created a series called Dinner and Dialogue that focuses on issues facing our community. Roughly once a month, between 20 and 30 individuals convene at a restaurant or pub and engage in an off-the-record conversation with the local leader on an issue facing our community over dinner. These events are so popular, they sell out in 48 hours or less. In addition, we've returned to our roots by hosting forums in Public Square. After the Republican National Convention, the New York Times described our new public square as being, quote, very recently transformed into a more inviting public space, as if the city of Cleveland were inviting the country and simply saying, discuss, end quote. And so discuss we did. In summer 2016, we hosted 2 pilot forums, which were so successful that we decided we needed a series. And if you know the City Club, you know how much we love series. So for 6 Tuesdays in June and July, we held panel discussions on the building blocks of Cleveland's neighborhoods. Called For the Love of Cleveland and presented by the Cleveland Foundation, it featured conversations with community development professionals and active citizens who are passionate about neighborhood development and issues facing their neighborhoods. More than 1,000 people joined us for those 6 non-rainy Tuesdays in the square. It's been a truly incredible year for programming, and I did not do it alone. And I'd like to take a moment to recognize the entire City Club team, who each has their own part in making sure these forums are a success, and I could not do it without them. Can we give them a round of applause? So one additional line of programming that's very important to the City Club is our youth forums. And here to share a bit of their success is the Youth Forum Council Chair, Tiolu Orsanya.
Hello, everyone. I'm the current chair of the City Club's Youth Forum Council, Tiolu Orsanya. It's truly been my pleasure to serve in this capacity, and I look forward to updating you on all the council has been able to accomplish this past fiscal year. The Youth Council provides an opportunity for high school students to examine the value and impediments of free speech, discuss and learn about national and international issues of critical importance, and be challenged to discover ways in which they can actively participate in public life. By planning and facilitating forums and programs important to local youth, council members are exposed to differing viewpoints while having the opportunity to share their ideas in a public space. We have done that admirably in the past year by covering a wide range of topics. All of our forums have been incredibly important conversations, and we do our best to talk about what's the most relevant news at the time and not just confined to the day-to-day thoughts of a teenager. We've had programs about human trafficking, the education achievement gap, campaign finance laws, forums on gun violence and the college application process, fake news and nationalism, the environment, and affirmative action. There would be no point to our programs, however, without an audience. Schools of all types, private, public, charter, and even homeschool groups from across the greater Cleveland area and maybe a little further are part of the Youth Forum audiences. From CMSD to Solon, Brecksville to Mentor, the Youth Council's reach is far and wide. This also extends to our membership. In the past year, we've almost doubled from 15 members to 27, tying the City Club board, with students from Andrews Osborne Academy, Cleveland Heights High, MC Squared STEM, and others from across Cleveland. In addition, high school students can attend any City Club forum for free, thanks to donors to our student participation program. Last year, more than 1,700 students from 60 area high schools attended a City Club forum, and many got the opportunity to ask questions. Thank you all for coming today, and I look forward to what more we can do collectively for our youth through the City Club. And with that, I'll hand it to Dan.
Thank you so much, Tiolu. I know I'm not the only one who is thinking right now, gosh, I hope one day I can work for her. And I want to thank Stephanie, too. Stephanie, your work here is tremendous, and as Bob said, I think he said it most clearly, like we couldn't do any of this without you, so thank you very much. Bob mentioned our philanthropy circle a little bit earlier, individuals who have made extraordinary contributions in support of our mission. And we want to take the next few minutes to honor one such individual whose legacy puts him in a class of his own. All of you, I think, are aware of him. Every time you come to a City Club forum, you see those political items in the cases in the hallway just on the other side of that wall. Hundreds of items, political buttons, ribbons, medals, even cigarette packs, going back to the early 19th century. Those were all collected by one man, Ralph E. String. He joined the City Club in 1977 and donated those items to the club and curated and stewarded that collection himself. Last year, Ralph passed away, and through his estate, the City Club received the single largest bequest we have ever received, $500,000. Ralph's son, Kevin, is with us today, and I'd like to welcome him to the stage to share a few reflections. Ladies and gentlemen, Kevin String.
Yeah, thanks very much. I can't tell you what a pleasure it is to be here today. I guess on behalf of my father. I wish he was here, I really do. But unfortunately, he's not. So you're going to have to kind of suffer through me as a substitute. Dan, I met with Dan at Corky and Lenny's about several months ago. And we sat down, and truly Cleveland experience meeting at Corky and Lenny's, right? And sat down with Dan, and Dan said, well, we're going to do a tribute to your father, and we'd like to know if you, first of all, would like to be our guest. And I said, of course. And he goes, and we'd like to know if you'd like to say a few words. And I said, oh, that'd be great. So I'm all excited, enthusiastic, of course, and I got home, I said, what am I going to say? So, when my father started putting his collection together in earnest, I was really quite young. I was only about 9 or 10 years old when he really started it. So my memories are kind of, scant in how the people he met and the shows that he went to, he certainly took me along to a lot of these things. But, it's, in terms of the details, I wish he were here to be able to tell you some of the kind of adventures that he had in putting this magnificent collection of his together. So, with that in mind, I thought, if my father were here, what would he say? And I happened to run across his, he was very thorough, and along with his collection, he prepared a little booklet, and in his booklet, he had just a brief comment that he called a word from the collector. And I asked Dan if he'd mind if I just shared that with you all, and he said, oh, please do. So if you bear with me, I'll read his passage. I think you'll really enjoy it. He starts out by saying, I was 8 years old in 1936 when Alf Landon of Kansas was nominated for president at the Republican National Convention held at the Public Auditorium in downtown Cleveland. By the way, when I read that statement, I thought I wanted to share this part of my dad. My dad was always very proud of Cleveland, and I don't think, I don't think it's just a coincidence that he likes to mention the fact that like the convention was in Cleveland and that kind of thing. Anyhow, that's sharing a little part of him with you. Anyhow, somehow a few of the Kansas Sunflower themed campaign buttons came into my possession. That the Alf Landon being from Kansas. That led me 4 years later to collect Wilkie buttons as well as FDR items. More than 20 years later, in the 1960s, as I would occasionally take my 3 young sons to coin shows, I noticed dealers were starting to show political items for sale. This encouraged me to expand on my small collection by trying to learn more about how to find these gems of political history. The first important step came in 1965 when I became a member of the fledgling APIC, American Political Items Collectors. They had conventions. I went to a couple of those with them. They were really fascinating. Big long tables. Everybody had their buttons out, and there was a lot of horse trading going on too, by the way. Anyhow, it soon became apparent that I could draw on their collective experiences for advice and direction. That led to all sorts of fun and excitement in horse trading with other collectors, visiting flea markets and antique shops, as well as bidding for items in mail auctions. And I guess I'll just kind of give editorials as I go along here. I remember how excited he would be when he'd go out to the mailbox and there'd be, a big, box full of stuff, and, we'd go into his office and he oftentimes, I'd be there when he opened it up and it'd be all his new buttons that he got, and he was really into this, let me tell you. And if you see his collection out there, you'll see what the results of being really into something ends up with. Anyhow, this is back to my dad again. My ultimate objective was to amass a collection that would include a representation from each presidential election of the 19th century, beginning in 1828. That was Andrew Jackson's second run, along with a cluster of items for each national election in the 20th century up to the present. My specific guidelines for collecting reflected a focus on 3 primary considerations, namely beauty, significance, and rarity. Beauty usually reflected design and color. Significance often suggested a special campaign slogan, and rarity meant scarcity value. And that's just like my dad, to really kind of categorize everything, and nothing was just random. He had everything calculated. By 1977, I had come a long way toward meeting my objectives. The next step was to find a permanent home for the collection. My longtime awareness and appreciation of the City Club of Cleveland, he puts of Cleveland on there, the City Club of Cleveland made for a perfect answer. The City Club responded eagerly, and today is the proud owner of a favorite, he puts in quotations, conversation piece, which is loaded with political history. Where better than the City Club, with its legacy of focus on impartial politics, could we find a more appropriate owner for this collection? That's the end of his statement. I would like to say that I have to disagree with one thing he says in here when he calls it a conversation piece. Just before lunch today, I was back there looking at it again, and it really is a magnificent collection. I think taken as a whole, it's even a work of art. I think it's a Smithsonian-worthy thing, and I think that the City Club is very fortunate to have it. But I will second my dad's last statement when he said, we could not find a more appropriate owner for this collection. I wholeheartedly agree with that. I'm so glad that it is here in Cleveland, at the Cleveland City Club, for my dad to have a permanent legacy and a wonderful owner of it. Thanks very much.
Kevin, thank you. Thank you so much, Kevin. I can't agree with you more. I mean, we are extraordinarily fortunate to have this legacy from your father, both the buttons and the bequest. And we're so grateful for your presence today. And I hope that you will pass along our deep gratitude to your brothers. Thank you very much. I also want to recognize Jim Foster, who's here with us today, my predecessor in this role, who really, over the time, when I got to the City Club in 2013, He gave me a short list of people I had to meet with. Your father was at the top of it. And had it not been for that friendship that you had with Ralph, I think that was very meaningful. It means a great deal to us today. So, Jim, thank you very much as well. Ralph String's legacy is a true exemplar of leadership. We are reminded of him every day as we walk past that political item collection and as we consider the future of our institution. And it's truly a future that we can be confident in, one we know is much more secure thanks to his wisdom, his foresight, and his generosity. So thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to bring us to the end of our official annual meeting. And in about 8 minutes or so, we're going to start the actual City Club Friday Forum. And then there's some housekeeping in between. So I'm going to ring the gong, but that doesn't mean you can go back to chit-chatting or get up and leave or anything like that. But so, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of our 2017 annual meeting. We're grateful for your ongoing commitment to civil civic dialogue, and we look forward to seeing you a great deal more in our 105th year. There we go. All right.